Welcome back, you guys. Welcome back to the Healing at My House podcast. This is episode 6. Today, we are talking about spiritual ascension and the Kundalini awakening. I know you guys are feeling these energies. We talked about it last week. We talked about the Schumann resonance. We talked about the ascension symptoms and how you may be feeling out of your body. You may be having stomach issues. You may be feeling energy building up in your system and coursing through your body. You may be feeling just weird, vivid dreams. There's a ton that you guys could be experiencing. And I just want to let you know you guys are not alone. And so you guys have been asking for specifically an episode about Kundalini awakenings and spiritual ascension. And so we are going to dive into that today. Okay. So first off, let's start with like the basics. Like what is a Kundalini? What is an awakening? How does this all work? Okay. So first off, Kundalini energy is a term that comes from Hinduism, and it describes this dormant energy that lies at the base of your spine. And when it is activated, that is when you have a Kundalini awakening. It's where that dormant energy becomes activated and it coils up through your spine to the top of your crown. Okay, so this is the process that activates your entire energetic system and allows you. Well, it's said that this process like helps elevate your consciousness, right? I think everyone has a different experience and not everyone's Kundalini awakens in their lifetime, right? But this happened to me. This happened to me in 2021. So if you guys don't know my story, I've talked about this a lot. I spiritually awakened. What I consider to be the beginning of my spiritual awakening was in 2016 when my grandfather passed away. So it was December 15th. He had been in the hospital for about 3 weeks. This was my first real death. This was my first time experiencing a close death. And so what happened was on the 15th, or I'm sorry, this was the 16th, the night before he passed away, he came to me in a dream. And we were driving in a car, and it was so vivid. I remember this so vividly. We were driving in a car, and he just said, "Everything is going to be okay. Let go now. Everything is going to be okay." And when I woke up, I had immediately known that he was gone, right? I had nothing other than my intuition and my dream. And about probably like a couple hours later, my mom walked into my room and let me know that he had passed away. And it was really tough. It was really tough on me. It was my first death. You know, I spent so much of my time at my grandma and grandpa's house, and because my parents both worked. And so I saw them as parental figures, right? They were these amazing parental figures. And my grandmother is still living. I love her to death. But it was hard. But what made it easier, this was the first time that my mind really opened up to the non-physical. It's like I felt a presence around me. I felt like he was with me. I felt like I could like feel him. And it felt like we were closer after he passed than we were when he was alive. And it was this really weird feeling. I couldn't explain it. I had really negative experiences with religion. It never really like just jived with me. It never aligned with me. I always felt that all religions are all saying the same thing, and religion was more so. I saw it in like a lower like frequency. I saw it in a negative shadow light, but I felt like religion was a tool to get people to like pin people against each other. I understand now after digging into different religious texts that like religious texts are just a tool if used properly can be very helpful, and what's right for you might not be right for me, but what matters is your truth. But I was not religious, and I honestly felt like if there was a God, he had forgotten me. I'm like, my life sucks. Ass. Like I'm like, how could all of these bad things happen to me and in the world, right? And there be a God. And if he does exist, like, is he this like omnipotent, like very loving, benevolent being? I'm like, how could a benevolent being like do this to me? Very much a victim mindset. But that's how I felt. And so I wasn't at a place where I was seeing things bigger than me or like outside of me. I was so caught up in my own shit, even being that young. In 2016, I think I was like 20, 21, maybe. Math. I think I was 21 or 22. And so wasn't believing in anything bigger than me, anything outside of me, very focused on my physical environment. He passes away and then I suddenly feel him around me, feel taken care of and watched over, right? Like I didn't feel a God doing that. I felt him. And that's when my mind opened up. This was not the Kundalini awakening though. This was my like the beginning of my elevation process, my spiritual awakening. My Kundalini awakening didn't happen until 5 years later in 2021. But from this point, I was, lost in the sauce. I I I wasn't living intentionally or consciously, and so I cycles repeating until I was forced to really look at my shit in 2018 when I got arrested for a DUI. This began the process that I believe laid the groundwork for my Kundalini to awaken, right? Because number one, not everyone's Kundalini is going to awaken in this lifetime. So do not force it. I cannot say this enough. Do not force it. If it is not meant for you, you will not be able to force it. And trying to activate your Kundalini and awaken your Kundalini if you're not meant to, I think is only going to lead you to more like anxiety and depression, because you're going against something that your spirit wants for you, right? You're going in a direction that isn't aligned with your soul blueprint, with your spirit. And that's going to cause friction, which causes anxiety, which causes misalignment, which causes depression. And you just end up in this dark place. But if you really feel like this is meant for you, also don't try and force it. Because if you try and activate your energy body when the foundation and the groundwork isn't laid, you will absolutely like zoom out of this world and live a very ungrounded lifestyle. I honestly think that a lot of mental health illnesses that we see out there are simply people who are really connected to higher frequencies, to higher levels of energy that don't know how to ground it. I'm not saying that's everyone with a mental health illness, right? And like that's no excuse to not take medicine or not like, see a mental health professional if you're going through these things, but adding on energy management and laying the foundational groundwork, the emotional body work, the mental body work, the energy body grounding work that's needed will help you stay connected to this world. You don't know how many messages I get of people really frantic and feeling like they are losing grip on their reality. And it's scary. It's a scary time. When my Kundalini awakened in 2021, I knew what was happening. I knew what was going on. But there was still so much fear and anxiety that came along with it, right? Like I did not know if I was ever going to feel normal again. It sent me into the ER, right? I feel like I had a panic attack. They did all the tests, ran all the tests, right? Nothing was wrong, right? Nothing was wrong with me. My spirit knew, my soul knew what was going on. I just didn't want to accept it. And I think even with the foundational groundwork that I laid from 2018 to 2021, like the beginning of 2021, even with those solid 3 years of therapy, of working through a lot of the shadows that I could, of releasing a lot of the attachments that I had to people, to places, to situations, to patterns, to negative behavioral patterns, to just ways of living that weren't suited with who I am. Even with those 3 years of work, I felt like I was losing my shit. Okay? Because number one, I didn't know what was happening to me. Like, this is why I do this. This is why I make content. This is why I make this podcast. This is why I started my house healing, because I'm a firm believer that if you just knew what was happening and knew and understood the process and could see someone who has gotten to the other side, you won't have so much fear and anxiety when it comes to these spiritual evolutions that you're going through, right? But I didn't have that. I did not know what was going on. And thankfully, as soon as my Kundalini awakened, I found a spiritual mentor that was able to walk me through that part of the process. So, long-winded point of saying, I see a lot of content out there that like glorifies and glamorizes spiritually awakening and Kundalini awakenings and elevating your consciousness and walking a spiritual path. Like, let me like set this straight. Like, I am a very grounded person, and I feel as equally connected to the non-physical realm. Like, this shit is not easy. Your whole worldview, your whole paradigm, everything you know about yourself will be flipped upside down, and you will be forced to live in a world that doesn't fit who you are. And you will then have to be brave enough and have enough faith to forge your own path when everybody, everything around you is telling you you're going to fail. And it's scary, it's isolating. So don't force it. Don't try and force any kind of spiritual awakening. Don't try and force a Kundalini awakening. Know that if it's meant for you, it will happen, right? We're all elevating our consciousness together. It does not mean that you're meant to go down this spiritual path in a sense, right? It doesn't mean that you have to live the specific path that you see online, right? The spiritual guru, the healer, the psychic, right? Whatever's for your soul blueprint will be for you. Don't try and force anything. So let's talk about what the process felt like when I started to when my Kundalini awakening process started. I remember the day vividly. I was sitting on the couch and it felt like everything was spinning inside of me. Like, everything was like rushing. Like, imagine, like, blood is always rushing through your body. There's always stuff moving around in there, right? But you're not really aware of it, right? You're just a human kind of doing your thing. I remember sitting on the couch and feeling every single like molecule of my body moving. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I've done shrooms before, and it almost felt like that. It was insane. So, one thing that shifted for me throughout this whole process was an intensified perception of interconnectedness. And so, like I said, as I'm sitting on the couch feeling the cells of my body move, I could also feel the cells of the tree outside move. I could feel the wind blowing from inside my apartment. I could feel other people's emotions around me more. I just, my highly sensitive body, which was already sensitive, I already knew I was an HSP, I already knew I was empathic. But like, take that and then times it by 100,000. I literally thought I was losing my mind. I felt tingly all over my skin. And I think that was the thing that sent me to the ER, when I felt like tingly on my skin and I almost felt like this radiating heat. I was like, okay, this is like something is wrong. I like have something going on with my hormones or something going on with whatever, like something is not right. And again, in the back of my mind, I knew exactly what was going on, but I did not want to accept it. Okay. Go to the ER, run all the tests, nothing is wrong. My sensitivity was so increased and my body instantly started rejecting things that I was normally consuming, the biggest one being alcohol. This was like one of the biggest shifts that had occurred ever in like throughout this whole process. Like, and it was so instant. I remember I had drank, like, this was, I believe it was my birthday. Yeah, it was my 26th birthday. The weekend before I had like drank normally. On my birthday, I had like one glass of wine and it took me out. Like, it was like my stomach was hurting. I felt nauseous. And like, just for context, like, I drank a shit ton. Like, I would go out and rip 10 to 15 shots, like take a bottle to the head. Like, I was that girl. And so for the shift to be so instant, and I was never the same again. But that is like a great analogy for what the Kundalini awakening is. It's like everything shifts in an instant. It is not gradual. Or at least for me, it wasn't. I don't want to define what your experience is going to be like, because I do believe that every experience is different. But this was so gradual for me, or so instant for me. I felt everything shift like severely. Another thing was certain foods weren't working for me anymore. Like, I noticed I was really being drawn to high frequency foods. And here's the thing, you guys, about this. Whatever works for your soul blueprint is going to work for your soul blueprint. I see a lot of like spiritual gurus, teachers, people out there that are like, only eat vegan. Like, don't eat processed foods. Don't eat this. Don't eat that. Don't drink. Don't smoke weed. Don't whatever. Do whatever feels right for your body. What felt right for my body and what continues to feel right for my body is high frequency foods. So I'm talking foods that come directly from the earth, things that have, low ingredient list, natural, non-processed, non-GMO foods. Okay. And then alcohol, definitely not for me. Drugs, definitely not for me. And this is coming from a person who was like lost in the sauce of all of that for a long time. So that could be part of the reason. Whatever works for you is going to work for you. And it's also going to change and evolve, right? Don't listen to me and be like, oh, I'm going to stop eating all processed foods because Lauren said she did it. My system is very different from yours. The whole point of this spiritual awakening and Kundalini journey is that you are listening to your own soul blueprint. And I know at the beginning that might be hard, especially when you have all of this information coming through, all of the downloads, all of this craziness happening in your mental and emotional and energetic body, that like you don't actually know where to turn and what to do. And so in a little bit, we're going to talk about some things that will help you just ground into this experience and not get lost. But let's talk a little bit more about what else happened to me. So stomach issues. This is a big one. And I see your guys' comments a lot. A lot of you guys are like, you have a decreased appetite. You can't eat what you used to. You're like running to the toilet every 20 minutes. Like, that is what happened to me. When this first happened, I think I was on the toilet like 4 or 5 times a day, and I couldn't hold anything down in my stomach. Like, anything I tried to eat was going right through me. It's like my body was detoxing. You guys know this. Emotions, energy, they're like physical things that your body stores and holds on to, right? And so when your Kundalini awakens and your energetic system is activated, your frequency is elevating to a point where this dense energetic material cannot live in your body anymore. So what does that mean? You're going to have to run to the toilet. I've heard of people vomiting. One of my really good friends, that happened to her. So I'm here to just validate you. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And also to remind you that there is hope. Like, this doesn't last forever. You can see my life now. Like, I've gotten through the bulk of the processing and the purging, and like life becomes magical after you get through the rough. Okay. Another thing that happened, I wanted to isolate myself, and I lost interest in being around, the people that I was around at the time. And that is for a reason. When your Kundalini awakens, your frequency is changing. Everything in your reality like doesn't fit you anymore. You're going to go into hermit mode. You're not going to know how you fit in the world anymore. It's like a part of you is dying. It's like you're losing yourself, right? Or losing the self that you thought was you, the false self. Okay. And from that place, you go into this hermit mode, right? You're learning who you are again. You're learning how your body is functioning. You're learning how to interact with your physical world again. And you need a space of that's just your own. So you can really get to know your own energy, your own frequency, your own thoughts, your own emotions, the thoughts, the programs, the beliefs, the emotions that are yours and the ones that aren't yours. You're just like in a whole tornado of energy in the form of thoughts, emotions, physical release, everything just swirling around you. And being around people during that time is just not conducive. So if you don't isolate yourself, the universe, God, source, life, whatever you want to call the all that is around us will do it for you. So you don't even have to worry about doing it yourself, honestly. You will be put in a situation where all you can do is hermit and be alone with yourself and build that real relationship with yourself. Okay. What else do I have here? Yeah, we talked about feeling like I was dying. That was a big part. It was almost like, I mean, a part of you is, right? The false self is falling away. Everything that was put on you by the people around you, all of the beliefs, all of the perceptions, all of the labels, everything that you thought you were that isn't in alignment with your soul becomes so apparent and it has to fall away. And it's like you don't know who the other you is yet on the other side. And so you almost feel like you're in this void. You feel like you're in between realities. And that's where this feeling of like detachment comes from that I feel like a lot of you guys are experiencing. It feels like you're like floating around, tethering between lives, and like you're so stagnant and there's so much fear and there's so much darkness, and it doesn't feel like you're going to get to the other side. It feels like your life is going to be like that forever. And I'm here to tell you that it will not be. There is another side and you will get to your true, authentic self. And this process is an ongoing process, right? Your Kundalini, your energetic system, your consciousness is always elevating, always. But this first one, the awakening, the one that is like the big shift, the dark night of the soul, the ego death, that one, that is the hardest time. Because once you got this down, everything else becomes like creator mode. Everything else, you're living from this place of intention. And instead of seeing it as like this purge and this like dark, heavy shit that you got to go through, you see it as an opportunity and you get to be an artist, right? You get to paint the blank canvas and create the life that you want instead of I feel like I'm dying and I don't know where I'm going. It's like a proactive process instead of a reactive process. Okay. Let's see. Out of body experiences, huge. I mean, I like disassociation is a huge part of this. Again, that feeling untethered, feeling detached. So if you're feeling that, you're not alone. What really helps is carrying around grounding stones and carrying around anything that can like anchor you back to like a safe place. Like if your safe place is your room and you know, you could keep a picture that you keep in there also in your pocket, or keep like a crystal in there and like take it with you if you need to go out. Anything you can keep on your person that will anchor you back to a safe space is awesome. I've also heard from some people, this did not work for me, but it might work for you, that eating like lower frequency foods and like denser, heavier foods will help you stay in your body. You know, like the processed stuff or like really dense stuff, really comfort stuff. That did not work for me. But now that I'm in this better place and I'm not purging and processing as much, I can play around with what I eat. I can eat a little bit, you know, like just everything in moderation, okay? Like, but while you're in this process of heavy purging, your stomach is going to be more sensitive, or at least mine was. But listen to your body. If your body's craving comfort or denser foods, that might help you stay in your body. And then another huge one was not getting restful sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, feeling the energies and the upgrades coming through my channel, like being woken up by feeling stuff moving in my body, feeling stuff like being pulled out of me, or feeling the presence of like other like energies around me, right? So this was a big part for me. A big thing that helped me is sleeping with grounding stones under my pillow. That will help you stay in your body while you're sleeping. There's so much, you guys, that we could talk about. And here's the thing, like the list will go on, and everyone will experience a Kundalini awakening differently. You just have to stay in tune with your body. You got to stay in tune with your body, right? Your psychic experiences and abilities are going to heighten as well. And so hopefully that will help you as you're purging and processing, be more in tune with your spirit and your body and what you really need. Okay. I know it feels like your entire life is being destroyed, right? Everything is like under complete destruction. And that is happening for a reason, because you are losing the false identity, the false self. Everything that you built that wasn't in alignment with who you are and your soul blueprint is falling away. And I know that period of death can feel so isolating, and it feels like you're not going to make it through. But the period of rebirth and rebuilding and creator mode and artist mode is so worth it. Okay. So here's some things I would say if this is where you're at. If you are, especially with this insane energy right now, there's a huge wave of awakenings that are happening right now. So if this is where you are at, here's some things that I would do. These are just, if I could go back in time and honestly tell my past self, hey, you're going to get through this and do these things, this is what I would do. Number 1, surrender. For the love of God, just let it happen. Just let it all flow and surrender. I know you want to control everything, right? I know you need to know if things are going to work out. I know you need to know what the future holds, but be present and surrender. It's not going to be easy to do at this time. So just do your best to be present and let everything that needs to fall away, fall away. You're going to want to fight everything like tooth and nail, but I promise you that's only going to elongate the process. Let everything fall away that needs to fall away and just sit in the stillness. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you want to fight it. I know you want to go to your vices. I know they're not working anymore. Just sit in the stillness and just be. Movement will be here soon. Second thing I would say, spiritual hygiene routine. You need a spiritual hygiene routine every day. Your energy system is so open now. It's so receptive. You're getting like this deep power wash clean of your insides, and you're purging and you're processing, and all of this shit is coming up, and you're so open because you don't know how to do and like really strengthen your energetic boundaries. So have a spiritual hygiene routine every day where you're grounding your energy, you're calling back your energy, you're cleansing your energy, and you're protecting it and shielding it. Okay. If you guys don't know how to do that, you can join my Elevate membership. My Elevate membership has step-by-step action plans to help you out through your ascension journey, one of them being spiritual hygiene. It's a great membership. You need to be in it if you are a newbie on this journey, because it is also this amazing community of empathic beings who are going through the same thing. One of the other things I would say, the number one thing to do on your journey is find support. If you do not find support, you will be spinning around in circles in your mind, feeling like you're going crazy. And if you're trying to find support with people who don't really understand you and understand this process, you're going to feel misunderstood and gaslit. So finding a community it should be your number one priority. My Elevate membership is an amazing space to do that. So I have the link down in the show notes if you want to join. Third one. So this one, really ask your vessel if this is for you. But for me, I needed to turn down the heavy physical exercise. I was lifting a lot. And as soon as my energy body really activated and turned on and started this huge energetic purging process, that was taking a lot of my energy. And so I did not have anything left in the tank to lift anymore. So I shifted to just light cardio and walking. Walking is such a good form of exercise for your body when you're going through this process because it allows you to get outside in nature, which is another thing, the next thing we're going to talk about. But it allows you to get outside. It allows physical movement does help the purging process, right? You're like shaking out those energies or moving out those energies as you're moving. But it also gets you out of your head, right? Going for a walk will help you get out of your head and more into your body. So go for the walk, get outside. And we talked about finding trusted support. Like, just do it. You are not alone. There are so many people out there like you. I know it feels like you were placed in this environment where no one gets you. That is done on purpose, right? You aren't around people like you yet because you have to figure out who you are first. As soon as you do, the support will come, okay? Find that support. The support will find you too, but set the intention to find that support. Okay. Really tune into your system to see if this rings true for you as well, but avoid the uppers, the downers, the stimulants as you're processing and purging. And this is if you want to go into any kind of spiritual work, especially if you're talking about being a healer or a channel or someone that supports others. If you are trying to channel, you need a clear channel. Okay. I find for me that alcohol, stimulants, coffee, any kind of drugs, it almost creates like this energetic debris in me, right? Because it lowers my energetic boundaries and it allows a lot of energy to stick to me. Okay. So I avoid that at all times to keep my channel clear. I will drink in moderation sometimes, occasionally. I haven't had a drink, honestly, though, since January. But when you're in the thick of this process, like the very thick, hairy part, you need your channel as clear as possible because there is so much energetic debris leaving you. And I feel like any kind of stimulants, uppers, downers, alcohol, drugs, they're going to add to that and elongate the process. Okay. Do what feels right to you, though. So next thing, amp up your spiritual practices. Really anchor into what feels right to you and what practices feel right to you. But at the same time, allow your consciousness to evolve. And so if something starts feeling not so right to you, get rid of it, right? Anchor into something that feels right and true. And understand that if it feels right and true now, it may not feel right and true in 3 months or 2 weeks. That's another part of this. The spiritual ascension journey, the Kundalini awakening journey, like happens so fast. You might be one person 1 week and another person another week. Okay. So just allow your consciousness to expand, allow yourself to change your mind. Anchor into a practice that feels right at the time, though. It will help you anchor into who you are, anchor into your soul, anchor into your body. Okay. Allow what needs to fall away. Those people, those friendships, those relationships, those jobs that don't feel right or they've started to not feel right. I know it's so easy to hang on to them because of the isolation, the fear, the pain, the shame, the guilt, whatever it is inside feels like you're not going to find better on the other side, feels like you don't know how you're going to make it. I promise you, holding on to them will elongate the process and it will also cause life, universe, God, source to rip them away from you. Like tower moment. Like if you don't evolve on your own, you will be forced to. And I'm telling you, you're not going to like that process. It's just easier if you can proactively take the first step. The universe will back you up and support you. I promise. And then the last thing, practice discernment. This is really tough when you are at the beginning, right? When you just have woken up and there's so much information and energy and downloads, and you're so open. So you're so receptive to everything. That's why I say find support, find a trusted mentor that is aligned with you, but start practicing really tuning into your body, really feeling in, like digging deep and sinking down into your stomach and saying, okay, like I just heard this piece of information on the news. How does it sit with me? What does my stomach do when I hear that? Does it feel true? Right? Does it feel false? What have my instincts told me, you know? And a really easy way to practice this is with a simple question. You can say, my name is, and then say a name that isn't yours and really feel into your body and feel how that feels. And then you can do the same thing. Say, my name is, insert your name. Feel how that feels differently from the last statement. If there isn't a difference, it just means that you have to purge and release and process more to really connect more to your soul blueprint, to your spirit, to your intuition. If you're having trouble doing that, it could mean that there's a complete disconnect or that your soul blueprint is offline. If that's the case, again, the purging, the processing will help. You can also come see a healer like me, where I can tap into your energy field with energy healing and help your soul blueprint come online and help you connect with your intuition more. I'm going to leave the link to book a session in there, down in the show notes as well. Okay. Discernment is key. Doing what's right for you and what feels true to you is your priority in this life. Okay. But all of this to say, I really want to let you know that there is hope. There is hope on the other side. Like, my life is testimony. I went from just dark, hating myself, not knowing what my purpose was, being in really codependent, abusive relationships, having not great relationships with my parents, all the way to starting a business that feels so fulfilling and so aligned with my purpose, meeting my amazing, amazing partner where we live together. I was able to buy a house and we live together and we get to create our family together. I have better relationships with my parents. I feel so much love for myself. I have so much more confidence and self-worth after going through this process. I promise you, life becomes magical. I really see life as like a blank canvas now where I get to paint whatever picture I want. It's so freeing. I have so much freedom and so much gratitude and so much love and so much joy. And everything that I had to go through to get here is so worth it. And so if you are at the beginning or in the thick of this process, I know it feels like you want to quit and just go back. But I promise there's no way to go back. There's no way to unsee what you saw. And that's okay, because the support that you need will come through and carry you to the other side. It is so worth it. I'm here. I have so many free resources in my community. If you can't afford or want to invest at this time, right? I have a free support group. I have a ton of free content in this podcast, on Instagram, on TikTok. There's so many ways to tap in to a community that feels right for you. And I'm here for you. Okay. So we're going to go to Q&A now. If you guys ever have questions that you want featured on the podcast, you can go ahead and email them to info@myhousehealing.com. That's info@myhousehealing.com. or you can Instagram DM me at My House Healing. Okay. So, do you have weird body temperature fluctuations? Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I still do. But when I first awakened, like my Kundalini like activated, I was going from hot to cold, hot to cold. Like I said, I was feeling that burning sensation like under my skin, and that's what really took me to the hospital. I find, and again, this is going to be different for everyone's body, but what I find is that when I feel like clearing happening coming in to my crown, I get cold. When I feel something in my body trying to ground, I get warm, right? So like Kundalini energy, I feel like is like Kundalini energy that derives from my body grounding into the earth feels warm to me. When I have downloads coming in or there's divine energy coming in into my crown, that's what makes me cold. So everyone's going to be different. Play around with your body and really see what your body does, especially when we're getting these energy spikes. But everything reacts differently. But absolutely, my body was doing some weird shit, especially at the beginning. Okay. Okay. All of this talk about World War III, do you think it's going to happen or just fear mongering? Okay, so I actually see zero content about World War III. To go back to the point of practicing discernment, like I have blinders on 24/7. I am very intentional about the content I consume because I know my energy, my focus, my attention is my most valuable currency. And so the reason why I believe a lot of these narratives are put out, I do think it is a lot of fear mongering. I think fear is a very heightened emotion that is used to control people, and it takes you out of your body. It disconnects you from your intuition and from your discernment, and it really puts you into this like panic, like primal mode. Okay, so I haven't seen any content about this. I do also believe it's about frequency, right? Because I'm very intentional about my energy management. I'm very intentional about what kind of energy I allow in my world. And that kind of energy, I just don't even like entertain. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think so, but I think that is also how things manifest, right? If someone who creates this narrative gets enough people to use their attention and focus and energy to manifest that situation, I think that's how all manifest or how all situations manifest. I do believe that people have more hope than fear though. And I think that's what's really shifting right now. I think that there's enough of a shift happening where people understand that there doesn't have to be so much fear. There doesn't have to be so much darkness. There doesn't have to be so much lack. We can all coexist and live a happy, cohesive, collective life. So I'm going to go with no. I don't think that's going to happen. Yes, I do think it's a fear mongering narrative. 3, it's really irrelevant to you because it's all about what you choose to tune into. So know that you have the power to tune out of that. Okay. I'm having weird experiences going through, like we were talking about awakening, but no one around me is relating to me and it's making me feel crazy. This is so real. So I do think that, again, I talked about this before, being part or during this part of the process, you are being isolated, right? You grew up being like a black sheep, being like the underdog, being misunderstood, being the highly sensitive person that needed to just like shut up and like stuff their emotions down, right? And so it's from that place of being in an environment of so much of what you're not that will allow you to realize what you are. And so that first part of your journey seems really dark and you're dormant and you're blocked and you don't know who you are. And then once you awaken and activate, it's like, wow, all of that stuff has to fall away. And that's when you find your community, because from a place of where you are so solid and grounded in who you are, that is how you attract more of who you are and how you allow more of who you are to just manifest into your reality. And so from this place, when you are in this dark night of the soul and in the void, really think about who you are and get to know yourself. And from that place, set an intention to meet people like that. While you're in the void and you're looking for support, though, find a spiritual mentor, find some kind of support group, find any kind of trusted support, even if it's just one friend that gets you. Like I said, I have a free support group. There are so many amazing mentors and creators that have groups, that have practices, whatever classes that you can tap into. I can't stress this enough. Do not do this alone. You will feel crazy. You will feel like you're going crazy. If you do this and really start talking to people who don't understand this, you are going to feel misunderstood and gaslit. And the support that comes in the time of your dark night of the soul and the void, they might not be in your life forever, right? Because it's from that place. They're going to help you really define who you are. And that might not fit you anymore. And that's okay. Whatever comes in at that time doesn't have to stay in your life forever. But it is so important that you have people that you can relate to understand that you are not alone. If I didn't have TikTok and my Ascension Healing Arts Center, the Healing Arts Center school that I went to, I don't know what I would have done. I really don't. I don't know, because I didn't have anyone in my life that really got me. And so it's so important to get the support when you can. All right, I think that's it. I think that is it. Wow. How are you guys feeling? My DMs are always open. My emails are always open. I am here. I know it is a wild time to be alive. I am hope. I am testimony that your life is not going to look like this always. You can get to the other side. It can be magical, and I can help you create that. My community is here. We're so open to you. Just come on in, be yourself, judgment free. I got you. Okay. I'm sending you so much love and so much grounding energy. You will make it through. See you on the next episode.